This is Moments with Foo with James Foo Torres, better known as Foo, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Foo is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Foo.
Hello and welcome to Moments with Foo. I'm your host, James Foo Torres, but you can call me Foo, hence the name of the podcast. And today I have the founder of Cierra Lueck Consulting, Cierra Lueck. And I'm going to let her tell you more about that. But first, Cierra, how are you?
I'm fantastic, man. And I didn't know you went by Foo. And so I was all like, what's up, Foo? I like it.
I guess that has happened to me a couple of times. And that's why do the introduction, make sure, you see Foo, PR strategist, like I make it, because Foo is the first part of my last name. So I have a two-word last name. It's my dad's and my mom's. That's how we do it in Puerto Rico. So that's always been like my nickname. People in school call me Foo all the time, or Kung Fu. My cousin called me too. So it's just been Foo, and I'm embracing it. It's good now that I'm in business. It's memorable. It's one syllable. It's catchy. So I like it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So let's start with a quick introduction about yourself and your company.
Yeah, my name is Cierra Lueck. Obviously, you've already said that, but I am a mom of 5. I have 5 kids. They range in ages from 16 all the way down to 5. I've been married for 18 years. My husband is prior service Army, and he's a veteran now. And because of my business, he was able to transition out of the military last year and has not had to take on another job yet at this point, and is just kind of able to figure out what he wants. Before actually starting my business, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I went from making $0 a month to now my company's collected over $500,000. We've helped our clients to be able to collect from online business sales to the tune of like several $1,000,000. And so, I mean, it's just been a wild ride for the last 2.5 years. And specifically what we do is if you've ever been in a Facebook group or in some kind of a community that feels either super spammy, it's completely dead, or only the admins or the leaders are the ones who are actually getting any kind of real engagement or attention, we're the people that they bring in when they want to have such high engagement that people love it so much they never want to leave. People actually enjoy being sold to, and then they love bringing in tons of people just like them. And so that's realistically what we do. We help turn brands into movements that sell.
That's so cool. I have that word of movement. I don't know if you saw in my Facebook. Right, like we empower ideas into movements. So off the bat, we're very aligned. So I'm excited to what we're gonna get here into, because I know it's gonna be really valuable. My first question is: do you have any advice, given your expertise? I guess with the group. So where should people start to create this group, these communities, to then build start a movement with it?
Well, first off, people don't just start groups for no reason. People usually have a big passion or purpose that they're wanting to start a group for, and there's always some kind of underlying reason. So I always encourage people, there's 3 things that we do whenever we're founding a group, and it's mission, purpose, vision. The vision is where do you want to be in the next, a lot of people aren't very far-sighted. So being short-sighted, where do you want to be in the next year? If everything went according to plan and it went exactly as you wanted it to go, and you had no obstacles whatsoever, what would life look like a year from now? So we start there and we figure out what do people actually really want? Then once we know what they want, then we can look at, okay, what is the mission? So what are the actions that we're going to take? And my favorite mission statement to use, I actually yoinked it from Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets, but it's the one where it's if I can convince people that the only way to get this is through this method that I created, then all other objections become irrelevant. It's that statement from there. And so we use that for the mission statement usually. But the idea there is your mission is actually the actions that you're taking. So then when we get to the purpose statement is the why behind the what. And so we realistically want to have a purpose statement that just makes people immediately when they hear it, they're just like, oh my God, that's me. oh my God, this is exactly what I've been looking for. It's like we're basically just entering the conversation in their mind and giving a voice to the feelings and the passions and everything that they've had inside of them that they've been afraid to say. You're being the leader of that voice. And so a lot of people struggle, I think, to step into that because they're afraid to be the leader. Like, who am I to be the leader? There's a lot of imposter syndrome that happens. And so, like, that's mindset is probably one of the first things that we work on as we're stepping into that. But if you're going to start a group, I would say don't even worry about all of that. Just freaking start it. And the goal would be for anyone that I work with, the goal is let's just make some money on Facebook. Let's just start there, make you some money on Facebook. Once you've made some money, then you can decide what you want to do.
I like it. I like it. That aligns a lot with what I think too. And I'm big into communities. I'm big into let's make money. Let's test this out after you have proven that the market wants it and they're willing to pay for it. Then that's when we're gonna start adding bells and whistles and commit to things, into putting more effort into it. Right. So that aligns perfectly. And I love how you say the having the purpose, the mission, and vision. It's something that I say this is the components to starting a movement. That's how I profess this, right? And because mission, what you're doing right now, vision, what you're doing next, and then what I say is in the purpose, I call it like having something that is relatable, that is bigger than yourself, that people can relate to. Then they see the mission and then the vision, like where you're going. So then they get on board, and that's with every community, regardless if it's Facebook group or you're doing it on Circle, you're doing it on LinkedIn groups or even Slack too. Like that's how I'm doing it. And my strategic advisor board is also doing it like that with Slack. So as long as the method that you use really is not the thing, it's just how can you put the components that people can relate to it and commit to it to be part of something bigger than an individual. And that's how you start a movement, right? And then from there, it's okay. You carve your way into the market. Now, like let's add authority and visibility, and that's why when I come in with the publicity, it's like, look, you already have a fire started. Let's put more fuel to this fire and take it national, and so you can impact millions. So we're very aligned. I like it.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. So what are some challenges that you come across when you're helping your clients or growing your own business that you have been able to overcome that you think is worth sharing with the audience?
Oh, how much time do you have?
I guess you could say a few.
So real quick, I hope you don't mind. What is the audience that is your target for this podcast in particular?
It's business owners, business leaders. They want to being able to impact as many people as possible in a positive way, and usually are in like consultancy firms, agency owners, authors, speakers. That's the common listeners.
Okay. So I wanted to shape whatever I share based on them, because there's a lot of things that I could go into. I'm the kind of person who takes a lot of quick action and is not afraid to make mistakes. I used to be afraid for years to make mistakes, and I was very much a perfectionist and wanted to do everything right. It's actually, I'm an ENFJ, and by nature, things that when I don't have enough time to get things done to my standards, it stresses me out a lot. So I just wouldn't take action on things that I knew were going to stress me out. Now I've changed that over time. And so now I take a lot of really quick action, and I just go out there and get things done. I have an idea, I just run with it. And that results in a lot of problems that arise. But I'm also very solutions focused because I stay positive most of the time. And so because when you are in a negative mindset, you can only see problems. And when you're in that positive mindset, you can start seeing solutions. And it's just like the way that our brain is wired. And so I'll do little things. For example, I'll start my client calls with wins. I know a lot of people do that because the energy feels good, and that's why most people start it. But I start our calls with wins specifically because I know that their questions are going to be struggles. I know that their questions are going to be the obstacles that they're facing. And whatever those struggles or obstacles are, when we start with wins and gratitude and that positive mindset, our brain just starts to finding solutions because we're sitting here thinking about all of the different solutions we've created. It just, I really like, there's this exercise that Tony Robbins did years ago that I heard on something and it was just so good. But essentially what happens is like, if you close your eyes for a second, but before you do, you look around the room and you find everything of one specific color. So it's like, for you, I can see there's a lot of black, because you're set up for podcasts. But like, say for instance, you looked around your room for anything that you could find that was red.
I have a lot of red too. My phone, my computer around.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like you look around the room, like even on like behind me, I see like the hearts and I see my LFG sign. I see like several other things in front of me, like on my bookshelf and on my calendar, and just like all over the room, there's red. And it's like I'm so focused on the red and I'm finding like where is it at in the room? And I'm trying to remember where it is. And I'm trying to remember what it looks like. And I'm trying to remember where things are that I need to access because red is the color that I'm looking for right now. And I just feel so successful because I found so much red, right? But then you close your eyes. And when you close your eyes for a second, you start thinking about all of the red things. And this is exactly what happens every night when we go to sleep. We're starting to think about all the things from the day. So close your eyes and without cheating. So if anyone's watching this or listening to this on the replay, close your eyes, don't cheat. Now I want you to think about everything in the room that's blue. Don't open your eyes yet. See if you can think about anything in the room that's blue. And then open your eyes and just look around. How many blue things are right in front of you that you didn't even realize because you weren't paying attention to it? Yeah. And the thing is that whatever we're focused on is what we find more of. And so that's been one of my favorite exercises because it's like when I was pregnant, I saw pregnant women everywhere. When I wanted to get a new blacked out Suburban, I saw black Suburbans everywhere. But before that, I probably had black Suburbans around me all the time, but I just never saw them. And so it's the same way with obstacles and solutions. It's like when we're so focused on the obstacle, it's going to be very rare that you'll actually find whatever the solution is. So I know that that's not exactly what you asked. Like you wanted to dive into the weeds of like specific obstacles, but I think that this one in and of itself helps with all the obstacles that we could face.
No, I am here just a guide, right? Like I'm just guiding the conversation. Where it goes is really, I'm presenting you to give value to my audience. The way that you do it is up to you. And in my opinion, I am the audience right now, right? And I think it's good, right? And so
awesome,
yeah,
perfect, yeah. Crushing the game over here.
Because there's a lot of truth to it, the way that I see it, and the word of this podcast that I tell all the time, most of my episode is perspective. And when you come in with these things, that might be things that I've listened to before in different ways, but your perspective is so different and unique and combined with things of other people, but with your touch. And when we practice things like you just did, and I started thinking about that, I started thinking about all the times that I'm frustrated, and then I keep seeing if I stay there, I will always find new ways that this can go wrong. It's like, oh, this can go wrong this way and that way, and what if and what I, right? But then if I think about solutions, it's like, okay, like, things can change quick. Like I can meet somebody here, blah, blah, blah. So I just do the work and think and just concentrate on finding solutions instead of problems, and then suddenly like things just seem to work out, right? And it happens a lot that when you are like you're in like the lowest, and when you think it's like, damn, like, but then you decide to like, look, I'm not gonna be a victim, and then you start moving, even though you don't know the solution where's gonna be, but you already focus on that, then they seem to appear. So I'm a firm believer of what you said, and something that you said that makes sense for me or remind me is from a song of Disclosure, actually. It says, where your focus goes, your energy flows. So that's something that came to mind when you were saying those things, because it's true. It's just where you put your focus, it's that where your energy goes. So it goes very aligned with that, and that's why I love love asking about focus to people. So I'm glad that you brought that in about the focus, because that's a big thing in business and in life in general, to be honest.
Well, and since you brought up about like where your focus goes, your energy flows, it's like anything that we're thinking about is what begins to manifest in our lives. And anything that you want in your future, um, you have to think about it first and you have to decide that you want it. The moment that you decide it is when you receive it, because nothing is going to fall into place until you decide. If you decide that you want to become an amazing singer, then you might decide to go get voice lessons. You might decide to start a YouTube channel. You might decide to start reaching out to other people to write songs and collaborate on music events locally, and then start finding somebody to do PR for you to go get you booked at a lot of places. You might find all of that stuff, but until you decide that you want to be a singer, you're not going to take any of those actions. And so it all starts in our mind. Everything that we want in life starts in our mind. And so there's actually another song that came up for me. As soon as you said that, I was like, was it this one? Was it this one? Was it this one? I know a lot of really great songs that are all about that. But one of my favorite ones recently I've been listening to on Spotify, it's called Manifestation. And it says something like, pardon me for singing on the podcast, but it's like, move into the rhythm of my intuition. Anything I want, I speak into existence. And it says, that's how I'm living, that's how I'm winning. But it's like, I love it because it's talking about we move to the rhythm of our intuition. Anything we want, we speak it into existence. And it's like we can have ideas in our mind. And if thinking about it was enough, then everybody would have everything that they want. Thinking about it is not enough. So we have to start speaking it. The moment we start speaking it, especially in front of other people, like we can't just speak it to ourselves inside of our closet and think that something's going to happen. The moment we start speaking it to other people, there's now this unspoken pressure that sits on top of us. And so it's like we told all of our friends, it's like, yeah, I'm going to be going to do this with hanging out with this person on Friday. Okay, so now all of our friends know that we're supposed to go hang out with some famous person on Friday or something like that. If we don't go hang out with that famous person, we feel ashamed. So guess what we're going to make sure happens on Friday? We're going to make sure we go hang out with whoever that was, because we put that unspoken pressure on ourselves. And then it's like, yeah, I'm going to be up on that stage next year. It's like, okay, well, cool. I'm going to have to take all the steps to get there. So we're going to make that happen because we spoke it out loud to other people. And it's like the moment you start speaking it out loud, it sets things into motion in a different way. When we speak versus just reading things. So if anyone does like morning formulas or vision boards or manifestation or whatever, if you just think about it, it's one thing. It's okay. Your mind starts to vision it. It's cool. And your brain starts to process it. And brain doesn't know the difference between dream versus reality in terms of storing memories. And so sometimes dreams will feel like they were real, but they didn't actually really happen, right? But so that part's cool. But the moment you start speaking it, you start engaging your other senses and you start to feel it at a deeper level. And there's only two ways that we can make those permanent changes in our life. One is by having a significant emotional experience, which you really can't replicate on your own. Like that's going to be something that happens in your life, either a really good, amazing feeling that suddenly happens or a really terrible feeling that suddenly happens. That's usually what happens. The other way is through repetition, which is why they tell people to speak their vision every single day, multiple times a day. I think Napoleon Hill did the 13 Keys of Success or something like that. You can find it on YouTube for free. He talks about you need to be saying it at least like 12 or 13 times a day, which is like once an hour. Once an hour, you should be speaking your vision out loud. But the thing that happens is it activates something inside of us. When we start speaking it out loud, it's like we're using our voice. So we're not just engaging our vocal cords and feeling it, and it's not just resonating in our chest, we're also hearing it with our ears. So we feel it. The moment we start to speak it, we begin to feel it. It starts coming to pass in our vision. When we talk it to other people and we feel that external pressure, we're now starting to be like, oh crap, what if this happens? And our mind starts ideating the obstacles. And this is the part that is most important for manifestation, is when we start thinking, oh God, what if this happens? Our mind starts to think about how we could overcome those obstacles. And that's probably the biggest part of manifestation that most people miss. And so it's really important just to like wrap this all up and bring it to a close, if you really want to get what you're focusing on, you have to speak it out loud. You have to do it openly and publicly. You have to be willing to make those mistakes and overcome those obstacles. And you have to find joy in making mistakes. You really have to enjoy making mistakes and be excited about making those mistakes, because then you're creating this joy on the journey. Because I can tell you that if you set your heart to achieve something and then you achieve it, you're going to have a state of depression afterwards if that's the only thing you're focused on finding joy in. Because once you achieve it, now what? Okay, I'll pause there.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And like I'm always thinking about these things because I do believe in manifestation. I also do believe that I'm far from mastering it. Like I have a lot of battles in my mind all the time, right? And when you say these things, I always have both things. Like I am aware of the things, and I was thinking about solutions, and then like sometimes they're like a lot of things happen, and it's like, damn, like all these things, they feel like they're holding me back. Like I have all this because as I did all these mistakes, I've grown a lot, right? So as mentally, as a leader, like so many ways, I've grown. Like I've been doing this for 2 years and a half. I think we started about the same time, because you said 2 years and a half too, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you started, so we started at the same time, which is kind of cool. I guess 2020 is, like the COVID business owners babies, I guess. But
My story was slightly different. It wasn't because of COVID, but yes.
I mean, I didn't do it. I don't know. COVID was an igniter or something, because I was already coming from. I was in the military at the time, so that's another thing. Like your husband was like ex-military. I'm military too, so that's another thing we have in common. I
Oh,
was in
what
the
was
Air Force.
what branch? Air Force?
Yeah, Air
Very
Force,
cool.
active duty. So, and then I was, if you see, I put that there just yesterday because I was going through my stuff. That's my dog tags right there. You know.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
they're so small I didn't notice them. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I put them there yesterday, I think. So something brand new, because I was going through some paperwork. So, and I found them. So I was in the military, and I was looking for something more fulfilling. I just want to do something that I can have more control of my life, and I can actually impact more people, and I can feel just life is worth living, and I'm doing something to make it better, to make this world better. And that's how I started looking for options. And the fact about COVID was like, well, I always wanted to work online. Now I want to work online even more. And then I have money because I came from deployment recently. I have time, and I have a job lined up here in Intel, Oregon, in here in like Hillsboro. And then so I have this safe space, and that's when I was like, well, if I fail, I have a job. So that's when I started. So that's like COVID wasn't like it was more like an extra motivator, because there was nothing to do outside, so I might as well just spending money on me and just stay in, because everybody's staying in anyway. So and then from there, that's when I discovered the agency model, started learning about PR, and then that's how I started going and to this journey and just making connections. And from there is I always thought that I'm a people person, so I was, oh, this is gonna be easy. I love talking to people. I just, just get them to like me. I have something good that they want. That's it. And it was a lot harder than that. I started learning about business in general, how to develop it, and learning about sales was a big focus for me, right? So the making money is the main thing to be able to have a business. And then from there, I started having things like this podcast. And then now this podcast has allowed me to connect with amazing people like you, and bring to have a very valuable conversation that we record and then we share with the world. So that's why I really like this. And throughout this journey, I've grown so much. But a lot of times, one thing that it messes me up still, that I'm trying to not let it mess me up, is even though I learned so much and it was good, but then the fact that I it has hurt me so much that the hiring the wrong people has been my biggest downfall. since I've been in business. And those things I'm still carrying with them because I had to like pay out of pocket and come up with other hires. And then some of the other hires weren't that great either. So to us has been that thing, it's something that I'm always thinking like, look, I want to manifest a great team. And for that, okay, I'm taking the decisions to, look for the right people and ask questions and stuff. And I guess in there, I don't know if it's skill sets that I still don't have, and that's why I don't hire that great, or if it's because of like acting on certain like survival mode sometimes that has like, whoa, I need somebody right now, and then I didn't spend more time to be able to hire the right people. So that's my pointing here, is that I have this thing of like, I'm super positive. I do yoga. I take care of myself. I legit every single day, I want to be the best version of myself that I can possibly be. And I'm always giving value to people, because I always think, look, if you lead with value, you add a lot of value to people, things are going to be fine. But then a lot of people take advantage of me and stuff. And then that kind of sucks, and that's why I'm thinking sometimes, it's like, am I not manifesting properly, or like what am I doing sometimes that is the lacking between, like, I'm giving so much value, I'm growing so much, but then I keep not having like the desired results, just because I guess I put too much faith in the wrong people, or I put too much in the wrong people, and that's things that have like still carrying to this day, right? So those are the things. I don't know what is giving of this information that I just gave you. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, first off, that was a lot of information. That's a long story. I think we've all been there at one time or another. So my journey, I jumped into, like, I hired my first mentor, and my first mentor was Client Kit, and I jumped into Client Kit. I created my first offer. It was the moment that I was on the phone call that I was like, I don't even know what I would do. And I was kind of thinking something with mindset, and I was kind of thinking something with Facebook groups. And he's like, well, tell me more about that. And he told me he had me tell a couple stories. And he was like, well, it sounds like you've already done really well with Facebook groups. You've helped people make money with them before. Why don't you just do that? And I was just like, okay, cool. Why not? And I think it was like that willingness to jump in and that decision in that moment, because from that point forward, I just decided to do it. And most people just won't even make that decision, right? So I jumped in. I was making $0 a month. I pulled in my first client. When I pulled in my first client, I had collected $1,900. I was like stupid excited about it. I remember I was just like, oh my gosh, babe, look at how much money I made, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like dancing all over the house. Well, the next month I collected 7,700. The next month I collected 12,000. And then the next month I collected 20,000. And I actually had a couple $20,000 months back to back. And then I stagnated and had a dip month immediately after. I mean, I hit my first 100K within 6 months, but then I had a dip immediately after, and it was because I got the money and then immediately wanted to make hires. And this is probably one of the biggest mistake I see a lot of people who are under $100,000 a month make, is that they make a little bit of money and they're making long-term decisions based off of temporary finances. And so you want to hire on team members based on the fact that you just had a 10K or a 20K or a 50 or a 100K month. And so you're bringing on all these new team members based on the one high month that you had. It's not a good decision for moving forward. You can't make future decisions based off of temporary finances. And when you have one big month, that's not the best time to be hiring. And so what we actually do, and here's a small thing that anyone can do in terms of just budgeting for hiring, is you can take your last 3 months of collected and add them all up together and then divide by 3. That's going to give you your average across those 3 months. Now, granted, if you went 20K, 20K, 100K, that's not going to give you great numbers. Go with your 3 months prior to that to make your hiring decisions. But the idea is that you want it to be sustainable. And also, too, another big mistake I see in the beginning is that people who are newer to business will hire new people who are also newer to business. When you hire other people who are newer to business, it's like the blind leading the blind. And that's like a story from the Bible where they talk about the blind leading the blind, and they're both going to fall into a ditch. because a blind person can't show another blind person where to go because they don't see where to go either. And so the idea and the concept is you want to actually in the beginning hire experts. It's going to be a little bit pricier, so hire slow, fire fast. But when you hire experts in the beginning, the experts are going to come in and actually fix the areas that you need help with, as opposed to hiring somebody who's also brand new. You still haven't figured out your own SOPs, and then you're trying to bring somebody else in who like doesn't know how to do SOPs either. And then it's like they work with you for a little bit. You're having to do a ton of training to teach them your style. They're trying to figure things out too. And then a few months down the road, you let them go, and then you have nothing left to show for it. But when you bring an expert in, there's always something great left behind.
Yeah, I did both. and it was in a combination of it too. And like my last hire was something like, oh yeah, she has like 25 years experience, all this stuff. And then it wasn't a very good fit in just personality alone. And then, you know, it was supposed to be like, look, I'm hiring premium, like this expert, so she has established
here's another
connections and all
thing.
that,
Here's
you
another
know?
thing, right? Is that the online coaching and consulting world is like the wild, wild west right now. There's not really any regulation. It's all kind of brand new and it's all still being created. It's kind of like the tech world, how like, you know, I remember when I first started working at Best Buy like 17, 18 years ago, 18 years ago, 16 years ago. When I first started working at Best Buy 16 years ago, there were these really amazing USB drives that held so much memory. It was like 132 gigabytes. I mean, it was like the stuff. And that thing was like $150. And then we came out with one that was like 300 gigabytes and it was like $300. And it was like, holy smokes. And then the next year, when they created the terabyte hard drive, like all of a sudden those were only worth like $5 to $10. And it's just like technology advanced so fast. The same thing is happening in the coaching and consulting world, that things are advancing so fast that it's like now it's like you're going to get somebody who's a mentor who's done like $3 million in business, but has only been in business for 1 or 2 years. So if you're trying to build a business for longevity, that person is not your person. If you want to build a business that scales really fast with possible crashing and burning and burnout, that person is your person. If you just want to make a lot of money really fast, but it's like trying to navigate that and figure that out. It can be very difficult. And so my favorite way to vet is by leveraging my own network of people that I trust. And so I don't just hire anybody anymore. We actually went through a whole round of hiring, looking for a copywriter for my team. And I'd known some of the people that applied for a very long time, and I had some really good referrals, and I just still chose not to hire anybody and just continue to do the work myself because I feel like it wouldn't have been a great fit. And it's just hire slow, fire fast. And I think that that's one of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten.
Yeah, that is a great advice. And that's
when it comes to masterminds, be okay with spending money and not making anything back. You will learn something. Whether it's a great mastermind or a terrible mastermind, you will learn something. Be okay with that. Be okay. Like you made that investment on purpose. There was a lesson you needed to learn. There was something inside of there that you needed. Like I believe all things happen for our good. Everything is working together for our good, even though we can't see it in the moment. Like the reason why I started my business it was during COVID. I'd actually started and decided to start my business a few months prior, before COVID ever hit. And I was just studying everything I could find online on YouTube. I didn't know that masterminds existed. I didn't know that programs like this existed. I didn't know any of that. And what actually ended up happening is the summer before, we were already on lockdown with my family because we discovered that my son had a brain tumor. And so when we found out my son had a brain tumor, the way we found out was he was cooking in the kitchen, ended up picking up a hot pan with his bare hands and got 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his hands. So we were just in and out of hospitals almost constantly. He had to have 4 skin graft surgeries. He had brain surgery. He had tons of rehab therapy that we were going in like once or twice a week. And I mean, and we had to drive, like we were living in Oklahoma near Fort Sill at the time. And we had to drive like an hour one way and 2 hours the other to get to the different doctors that he needed to go to. And so we were already kind of on lockdown. So COVID was just like, hey, normal life for us. And then also avoiding people so he didn't get sick, so that we wouldn't have to postpone hospital visits. Like you don't want to have to postpone brain surgery. And
Definitely not.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like we were avoiding all of that anyway at the time. And it was actually when I launched my business was 2 weeks after my son's brain surgery. And it was because I was watching everything that my son was going through, and I was coming out, and I always encourage my kids to be entrepreneurs and to create this amazing life for themselves. But then I was just a stay-at-home mom. And I kept coming out like trying to encourage my son every day because he went through a time of depression. His hands were burned, so he couldn't do anything with his hands for months. And he lost all of his friends. All of his friends started making fun of him. Kids are mean sometimes.
Most
All of his
times.
friends started making fun of him. So he lost all of his friends. He couldn't do sports. He couldn't do anything with wheels. He couldn't play with anything with his hands. So he couldn't even do like video games, computer. He couldn't even hold a remote to change channels on the TV. Couldn't feed himself. Had to get help to take a shower and to go to the bathroom. And his dad worked all day in the military. So I had to help him as his mom, help an 11-year-old young man go to the bathroom. So it was like very defeating for him. And he went through a time of depression for a little bit.
I mean,
And it was
anybody
during that
would.
time, right? It was during that time, like I would go into my closet and cry because it just like broke my heart to see this happening for my son. But then I'd come back out and I'd be that motivational speaker. So I had to go into my closet and cry by myself and then come back out and be that motivational speaker. And there was this one day we had been watching The Last Dance. It's the documentary with Michael Jordan.
Mhm.
And I was sitting here watching like Michael Jordan, and my kids were like, yeah, Michael Jordan had this, Michael Jordan had that, Michael Jordan's amazing. And I started realizing that my kids are watching people like Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber and Mr. Beast and Michael Jordan, and they're thinking, well, they can do it because they've had all of these things happen in life and everything's
Mhm.
been working out in their favor. But like, I'm just normal. And I realized that like it hit me that I had to show them firsthand. Like I literally came out that day and I told my son, I was like, you can do and be whatever you want in life as long as you pursue it with all of your might. And then I realized in that moment that I wasn't doing that and I wasn't showing them.
Follow your own advice, right?
And it was that day that I decided I was going to just start my business because I had literally, like, when stuff happened with my son, I was so depressed and so sad. I quit everything. And so I literally, in that moment, decided that I was going to pursue what I really desired to do. I was going to launch my YouTube channel, which I still haven't launched, but I was like, I'm going to launch my YouTube channel. I'm going to start my business. I'm going to start singing again. I'm going to start doing all of these things that I've wanted to do for so long and just haven't, to show my kids that it's possible. The business was the easiest one. Just on a side note for anyone who's listening and thinking like, well, maybe I should do something else. Maybe I shouldn't do your business. A business is the easiest one. And so I started pursuing my business. It wasn't until several months later that I found a mentor, but it was 2 weeks after my son's brain surgery that I jumped into this 10K mentorship program. And it was the most money I'd ever spent. I paid in full because I just gotten my credit fixed, and I got it approved for like a really high credit limit for the first time ever in my life. And so I just like paid in full because that was the kind of energy I wanted to put out into the world. I wanted people to want to pay me in full. And so I've sowed that energy. That energy started coming back to me, and then my business like kind of, took off.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love how you were giving advice to your kids, and during this I was like, look, I can't just tell them, I need to show them, and being able to just take the risk and just pay it in full. Never done this before, just go for it.
Well,
And
this is what I said when I paid. I told my husband, I said, even if I could just make the payments on this credit card with the money that I make from what I learn in here, it would be worth it. And I think sometimes people forget that. It's like if you learned how to increase your income by 10% a month from whatever program you jumped into, even if it was only 10%, if you learned something that helped you to increase by 10% a month, it's worth it. A lot of people are just so interested in chasing this like huge, like they like the people who going for 10K a month, like it's super easy to get to 10K a month, by the way, like very, very easy. But to get to your first 100K month, like that, it's just like there's so many coaches and consultants and agency owners I know that are just chasing that 100K month. Like that is the end all do all. You are going to hit that someday. It is inevitable. It's going to happen because it's on your radar. But it's like when you chase that 100K month, it's like you lose all the joy along the way. It's like you want to go from a 10K to a 100K month overnight. And it's like, who freaking cares? It's just money. And the thing is that when you're chasing that higher goal, it's like you're missing all of the gratitude along the way, that it's like, I used to only make 10K months and now consistently I'm making 20, 30, 40, 50K months. It's a huge jump. And we forget how much we grow in such a short period of time when we don't take the time to just be grateful for it. And we'll like, there's this big movement right now of people, and I don't think it's intentional, but these people who've been burned, who like they jumped into a program and they set their own expectations, and everybody does this. We set our own expectations for what we're going to receive from the program, and then when we don't receive it because maybe we didn't follow it the right way, maybe we didn't show up the way we were supposed to, maybe we just didn't really take all the actions, or maybe we did and there was just still something that was a gap, we blame the person in charge of the program and then don't even pay attention to the growth that we did have because we're so frustrated about not making the monetary goal. And it just makes no sense, because any joy that you would have gotten from that, any good thing, because every time you spend money, you're investing into something and you decide what happens to that seed. Every investment is a seed that you're sowing, and you reap some kind of a harvest, and you decide based on how you treat the seed once you sow it, you decide whether it becomes a weed in your garden or it becomes a fruitful tree in your garden. You get to decide that by the way that you treat that investment. And so I don't just mean how you show up and whether or not you're active and all of that. I mean how you feel about the investment. Because how you feel about it is how you're going to treat it in the future. And if you treat it like it was a weed, it becomes a weed for you, even if it would have been a harvest.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm thinking about all the different programs that I've invested and stuff, and I've gone through all the things you described. And when I say all the things you describe, I include both, like the bad and the good, right? Because I was invested in this coaching program, and to be honest, I was like, this is not a bad program, but I'm not getting what I thought I was gonna get, and I'm not moving forward, even though I'm going through these calls and I'm learning, and I feel like I learn a lot, but I keep thinking, like, what am I missing? Like, I'm putting so much effort into these things, and I still don't see I don't see results. I'm not getting sales, even though I'm going to sales calls all the time and having from a guy that is like one of the best that I've ever seen. And to this day, I've learned from so many people, and I still look back and it's like, damn, that's one of the best, if not the best, sales coach that I've been with, and to this day, but I think it's like, damn, like I was expecting to make all this money, and then nothing was like really coming out. I did learn, but I was like, damn, but I wasn't the person that I thought that I was to be able to reap the benefits of this. I needed to grow, and so that's why, like, while I was going through it, I was like kind of frustrated, but at the same time, I was thinking, well, I learned a lot about sales. I still to this day look back at it and was like, well, I did learn a lot of it. I made some connections that I still talk to them to this day. So I make them clients or partners and stuff. So I was like, look, like, yeah, it wasn't the desired outcome that I had in mind when I invested necessarily. I have my own expectations, but a lot of good came out of it in different forms. And another thing that I think is just, look, when you do something, you did it, right? Like, just thinking about, oh, I should be here, or it should have been this way, or whatever. Like, I think about, I don't know where I learned this phrase. Someone told me, like, shit on the should have. And I'm like, I think about this. It's kind of like one of my mantras right now. It's like, because damn, I always caught myself by accident. It's just like my monkey brain, right? My monster just goes to that way, and I don't get it. It's like, oh, like, if I would have done it like this, I would be here. Or if I wouldn't done this, then I would but I'm just creating situations in my mind for no reason, just to torture myself. Because I mean, it happened, right? Like, it's in the past. I can't really do anything about it other than learn from it and then just move forward, right? Like, you can't go back, but you can always move forward. So that's my 2 cents based on what you're saying. And this has been like a very, very, very value packed conversation, a lot of deep things, and which I really like, because there's no business problems, it's just personal problems that reflect on business. And that's why it's very important to know that mindset is everything, into, like you said, like perspective, and like I say all the time, like perspective is everything. So in your, where you put your focus. So hopefully when people listen to this, they can digest at least those key points, right? Because we were talking about so many different things, so many different stories. So hopefully we can, at least if there's a couple points that we are able to deliver to the audience as takeaways, are to just, where you're focusing on, right? Like where your focus goes, your energy flows, right? And to always see the good on every single decision that you make, because things, they happen for a reason, right? And if it's not at the end, this is something that I learned from Shia LaBeouf, a video that I saw. He was on a podcast. He says, like, at the end, everything is gonna be all right, and if it's not all right, then it's not the end. So just keep pushing. Yeah, that's like the last thing that I want to leave you guys with. So, thanks for all the information that you're covering here, Cierra. Like this been super good. And I know there's going to be people that's like, look, she is amazing. So I want to be able to contact her. So how can people find you?
Yeah, so you guys can add me as a friend on Facebook, because I still have a few spaces left on my friends list. It's Cierra, last name is Lueck. We also have a Facebook group. We just changed the name, but if you type in facebook.com/groups/groups make money, it'll bring up Group Leaders United. And the whole goal inside of that group is to help group leaders collaborate with other group leaders to exponentially grow each other's audiences. And so we have several different ways that we work with people in consulting, DIY courses. I have a book out there. We've got lots of different things. So if you jump inside the group, we have information on all of that, and you can find it all there.
Perfect. So just remind to send me or the email of my admin those links, so we make sure that we put them on the description. So make it easy for people to join. I know that I don't think I'm in it. I don't think I'm in it. So
join.
Yeah, I definitely got to join.
We were at 666 members the other day, and I was like, quick, somebody join my group. This is not good vibes. And so we actually are about to cross over into 700 members, and it's just, I think we're going to be over 1,000 by the end of the year. It's a lot of really great people inside of that group. And so Amazing. It's a great place to network and connect.
Can't wait to be there. Make sure to give me that link so I can join, and I can put it in the description. This was amazing. I'm looking forward to learn more from you, and to hopefully have some good partnership. I know that you invited me already to give you some of my perspective and my expertise to the course that you're building. So, I'm excited for that, and to be able to add value in your community. I'm always giving value. I have more people that I can put in my podcast. They can probably have podcasts that they can put me in, right?
You're going to find so many amazing people inside of the group. You just wait.
I'm excited. So yeah, like after this, that's the first thing I'm going to do. And like this, thanks again for just taking the time and come here. And this is a lot, it was longer than I usually do, but it was just so good that I could have ended sooner, but then I was like, you know what, I just want to get your perspective on this. And then I told you my story, and it was just because I saw the opportunity. I was like, look, I really like the way that she's explaining things. I'm going for it, right? I'm that's the reason of this is for me to learn and then share what I'm learning, basically, right? Like, I'm a very curious person and I always ask. So hopefully this gives people perspective, and I ask the right questions that they wanted to know, right? So,
absolutely. I'm sure that you will. Whatever your intention is that you said is what you're going to find. So I'm absolutely sure that your people are going to love it. Thank you so much, Foo. Almost called you James.
Yeah, that happens. It's fine. You'll get it. You get used to it. As you see me in the group, and I just calling myself Foo, and everybody's Foo, and you'll get it. But anyway, so thanks again. And this was Cierra and Foo, and this is us signing off.
Thanks for listening to Moments with Foo with your host, Foo. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.